Well, hello everyone, Texie88 here and welcome to another retro gaming review. And now I'm looking at the Commodore 64 version of Passing Shot after having just looked at both the Spectrum version and the Amstrad CPC version. Nice music here. Those graphics of the people at the bottom there are noticeably less blocky than their CPC counterparts. So let's... now you can key in our name again. I would have preferred it if it was more like a Spectrum version where you could actually select from a grid rather than having to cycle through like... Oh damn it, I didn't get to... And there's... I didn't get to set my... because of... Oh dear, these graphics are incredibly blocky. Nice and smooth, nice and colourful. See, this is what the Amstrad version should have taken note for. Ooh, I like the pace at which this runs. Although I'm still finding that my tennis player herself runs too slowly. By the way, it did the burst of the Marseillaise when just before this match started. That was a nice touch. Out. Well, at least this isn't a Spectrum port, which is something. Yes. This uses the same keyboard controls. Oh, shut your face. This uses the same keyboard controls as the Amstrad version. Oh, damn it. That's the Amstrad version. ZXPL and space. It's almost like a lefty version of QAOP in space, which is what the Spectrum version used. What? Okay. I like the sound effects in this, I have to admit. Not too beepy like the Spectrum version, and not too timid like the Amstrad version. I was out anyway, so. Out of the three versions I've played, I think this is the most playable. It's certainly the one that runs at the most respectable rate. Yes. Oh, damn it, it's out. Oh, body touch, that wasn't... I don't think I was. Yes. Deuce. I'm really impressed with this version. So far, this is looking like the one out of the main 8-bit versions that I prefer. If only the Spectrum version was as fast and smooth as this, because then that could have stood a chance. This plays really well. It's fast, smooth. Players still need to get their arse out second though, which is a bit of a shame. And you still have a problem where you're having to move your player while they're off screen, which may bother some people. But once you get an idea of how fast your player moves, you'll have a pretty good idea of how long you need to hold movement buttons for. That face is a bit blockier than it is in the other two versions. Return ace. This plays a pretty good game of tennis. Nice. It's actually where you are in relation to the ball that ultimately determines where you hit the ball. You don't actually control it per se. You just control the type of shot it is. That face. Oh dear me. Oh, even though it's not a Spectrum port the way the Amstrad was, it still has the same problem. There's no shadow on the ball, so I still find it's a little bit hard to determine just how high up it is. And that was another problem with the tennis player being too slow again. I mean, the player wouldn't have to be much faster to make it a bit more enjoyable. It's the same. It's the same complaint I levelled at the other two versions. God. Oh, I couldn't have got that. My player's not fast enough as usual. Yeah, can I win a set? Oh, not if I do things like that. Go on, more like that, please. Why couldn't there be a drop shadow on the ball? It's just such a shame that you can't have two players playing against each other in passing shots. That would have really been made this game particularly special. Body touch, I'll give you body touch. At least the ball in this is solid, not like the Amstrad one where you could see right through it to the lines beneath it as it passed over them. Oh, idiot! Shouldn't have done that. Yes, that was a perfect way to end that. I do like that ball. It does make me chuckle. No! Damn it. Should have done a different kind of strike there. Oh no! I've gone to pot now. I keep knocking it out. Don't be concerned about the fact that I explained that it's the position of you compared to the ball and the kind of shot you do that determines where your ball actually goes. It actually works really well. It's just very easy to forget which one's the most suitable one for the job when in the heat of it. Oh, God. Out. That's a really nicely detailed ball. No. What do you mean that was out? That was in. You see the ball landed in. That was inside the line. See, that ball landed in much the same sort of place in relation to the line, and that was red as in. So why wasn't that previous one red as in? Out. Out. This plays beautifully. I am impressed with it. And all that's going to contribute to the final score. And I quite like the sound effects they've picked for the proceedings. Again, I would have preferred it if it made a bit more use of the Commodore 64 sound capabilities and added a bit more in the way of white noises, atmosphere. Nice use of the Commodore 64's music capabilities there. I think I'm actually going to wind up the review here, but so that's passing shot for the Commodore 64. And I think out of the 3 versions I've played, which are the Spectrum version, the Amstrad version, and this Commodore 64 version, I think this is the best of the 3. It plays at a brisker pace, although it still has the same problem of the players moving too slowly to make the game quite as enjoyable as it could have been. Graphics, well, a little bit blocky in the spectator's viewpoint for services, but apart from that, they nice use of the Commodore 64's color capabilities and the overhead viewpoint for rallies. There's nice detail on the ball and nice shadows and color use, and at least it's not see-through like the one in the Amstrad version was. And at least the Commodore 64 version isn't just a lazy Spectrum port. It's actually been done properly. That ball that makes faces is a bit blocky though, which is a bit of a shame. But nicely animated sprites as per the other versions. Sound, as I said just now, I would have preferred if there could have been some kind of white noise to represent perhaps the background atmosphere and the crowd whenever a pointer was won, for instance. That would have been a nice touch. And other than that, the sounds do their job, and at least they're not sort of like boings that sounds like they were in the Spectrum version, which made it seem more like Pong from several years earlier. Gameplay, well, as I mentioned, this runs at a slightly brisker pace than the Spectrum version, and it has just as smooth as scrolling. So, thumbs up to that. Again, it's a shame that you can't have one player against another player. It's either single player against a CPU opponent, or simultaneous 2-player doubles against 2 CPU controlled opponents. You can't have one player against another, and it is a shame that that's the case. So I'm going to give 8 out of 10 to this Commodore 64 version of Passing Shot. I'm really glad I managed to find another Commodore 64 version that I could play without the need for a joystick. As soon as I saw in the instructions that you could play this using keyboard, I jumped on the chance to review it. And I'm glad I did, because I think this is my favourite out of the main 8-bit computer versions. So yeah, I'm really impressed with that. That's Passing Shot for the Commodore 64. Hope you enjoyed this review. Catch you on another one soon. Texie88 out.